According to statistics we just made up, you have an 85% chance of running into a serial killer in your life. So with a practical guarantee that one day you'll be in a fight for your life against a madman, how can you survive a serial killer? We took to researching previous serial killer survival accounts and even asked some security experts to come up with their ultimate serial killer survival guide. Survival tip number 1: get fit. This one's a no-brainer, but the less physically fit you are, the less chance you'll have of surviving an encounter with a serial killer. Most people who survive being attacked do so either by fighting off their opponent or putting up so much resistance that their would-be killer simply gives up and moves on to easier prey. In fact, just looking like you'd be difficult to handle can make a killer take a hard pass on you. Taking a basic self-defense course is not a bad idea either. You don't have to be a martial arts master to fight off an attacker, but there's some very basic self-defense moves that are devastatingly effective, especially against an unwary attacker who may not be expecting you to fight back. Basic palm, elbow, and knee strikes can mean the difference between life and death. The most important reason to get fit, however, has nothing to do with fighting back. It's so you can run away. Any serious self-defense expert in the world will tell you that the very best way to win a fight is to never have to fight it in the first place, which means putting your running shoes on and doing your best Forrest Gump impression as you flee for your life. It may not look very badass, but getting yourself killed is also not very badass. So take our advice and run. Getting fit can also help you survive an attack that you couldn't fight off or avoid. A survey of 40 serial killer survival stories found that 20% of them had survived by being left for dead by the killer. If you're in good physical shape and your body is strong, you have a better chance of surviving an attack and lasting long enough to be discovered, or to crawl to get help after you're left for dead. But physical fitness is only one part of the equation, because mental fitness is just as important. Life and death situations are typically survived by the people with extraordinary mental strength, who refuse to give up and die when others would have fallen long ago. Your encounter with a serial killer may be a quick, brief, but very violent affair, or could turn into a days-long struggle for survival. Being mentally tough is as important as being physically fit if you're to survive a serial killer. Survival tip number 2: stranger danger. This should go without saying, but if you want to survive an encounter with a serial killer, don't make their job easier by making yourself a victim. Your mom's age-old adage of not talking to strangers holds true even in your adult years. If somebody's making you uncomfortable, don't hesitate to let them know and put some distance between you two. Many serial killers snared their prey by taking advantage of our instinct to avoid socially awkward interactions. You know the type: someone invites you to do something you don't really want to do, but it'd be rude to decline, so to avoid the awkwardness, you relent. It's believed that multiple times Ted Bundy harassed his victims to accept a ride from him as they walked home alone, until finally, not wishing to be rude and off-putting, they accepted and sealed their fate. So get comfortable with saying no. If someone's asking for help and seems to be in an emergency, it's okay to leave your front door locked while you call 911 for them from the inside. Same if someone flags you down and there's no other people around, simply inform them you'll call 911 for them and drive a safe distance away. You should definitely help people when you can, but your safety is a priority. Also, you should be aware of anyone asking for specific personal details about your life. If someone keeps asking about your schedule, what time you get home from work, what time you go to sleep, or the general area where you live, do you have a roommate? Is your neighborhood rural or on a busy street? This is a massive red flag, and you should avoid giving any of those details out. You should also remove yourself from the situation as quickly as possible. Report the individual to an authority figure if possible. Many serial killers have been scared off the hunt simply by being reported to a work or police authority for harassing behavior. The last thing these guys want to do is attract unwelcome attention, which also means that you should be attracting as much attention as you can if you're ever in an uncomfortable situation with a stranger. Maybe that cute guy you met at the bar really is just into you, or he's sizing up you as his next victim. Either way, make sure your friends are aware of him. Draw attention to the two of you throughout your interactions. Basically, create as many witnesses as you can, so if you go missing, everyone's going to be pointing the finger at one person. A serial killer will very quickly change his mind about you and seek out the prey that'll keep him more anonymous. Survival tip number 3: fight. Serial killers have different methods of operation, with some enacting mindless random violence, such as Zodiac, who would shoot people and then drive away, and others who would turn their killing into a ritual, like Ted Bundy. While there's little you can do to fight off an ambush attack like Zodiac, Ritual serial killers can be seriously dissuaded from their attack if you simply put up enough of a fight. Fighting is going to draw attention to you both, which is the one thing the serial killer fears the most. Be loud, be violent, scream, and call for help. Make as much noise and ruckus as you possibly can. Even if you can't physically overpower your attacker, every second you spend putting up a fight is another second that someone might notice what's going on, or at least make your attacker think that the possibility of discovery is growing. Eventually, all but the most determined killers are probably going to break off their attack and once more go looking for easier prey. In the age of social media, though, you can take your fight to the electronic medium. If a stranger approaches you and is giving you seriously bad vibes, snap a photo of them and post it to your social media. If it's a serial killer, they'll almost certainly break off their attack once they realize they're no longer anonymous. In the age of live streaming, your phone may be your best tool for protection as you strip away the anonymity of a would-be attacker, and they realize that they'll be the prime suspect if you go missing. Nothing turns the serial killer off like knowing that within days of the attack, a photo of their face will be plastered on news bulletins across the country. Contrary to popular belief, serial killers don't want to get caught and go to great lengths to ensure they remain out of law enforcement's crosshairs. Finally, as long as we're talking about personal electronics and social media, if you're going to be somewhere sketchy or are getting seriously bad vibes from someone, share your location with a friend. They'll be able to track you across most platforms and have up-to-date information if you go missing. While a serial killer will likely make you toss your phone right away, even knowing where you were last active can help police catch your killer before you become his next victim. Survival tip number 4. Cooperate. Survival tip number 4 might sound strange, considering we just told you to fight, and you should absolutely fight any and every chance you get. However, there may come a time when cooperation is the better survival strategy. Most serial killers find it easy to kill because in their twisted minds you are not truly human. Perhaps you remind them of a hated parent, or you're of a certain demographic that the killer doesn't consider to be fully human. There can be a million reasons why a serial killer targeted you, but the common theme amongst most serial killers is they don't see their victims as being fully human as they themselves are. In a select number of cases, the victims have actually been let loose by their attacker after they humanized themselves to their would-be killer. Making yourself a real person in the eyes of a killer can sometimes avoid getting you killed, and this means connecting emotionally with your attacker. Not an easy feat to pull off if you're terrified or your killer is insane. A common tactic is to ask questions about the killer's life, history, or family. You can explore hobbies, comment on current events, or even just talk about TV shows or movies. If you can make a legitimate connection by sharing in return parts of your life, like for instance the fact that you're both huge Star Trek fans, the odds of you surviving a serial killer just went up dramatically. The more of a real person you seem to your serial killer, the less odds that they'll go through with the murder. Though there is a fine line, begging for one's life or pleading by talking about the family who depends on you rarely works, and that's because begging behavior typically plays straight into the power fantasy that has led a serial killer to attack you in the first place. You're not going to convince a serial killer to spare you by pointing out that you never really got a good look at their face, or promising you won't tell anyone, or pleading that they spare you because your sick grandma depends on you for support. Instead, you need to make real, honest emotional connections, or at least do a really good job of faking them. Survival tip number 5. Don't fit the stereotype. Our final survival tip is related to avoiding attack in the first place. Serial killers are almost always opportunistic predators, meaning that it's very rare for them to seek out and kill prey that isn't already easy to track, isolate, and kill. This means that people living on the fringes of the mainstream culture are the most vulnerable to being victims of a serial killer. Serial killers like to go for the easiest, most vulnerable, and most disposable prey, what some police authorities have labeled less deads. These are people on the fringes of society, such as the homeless, sex workers, drug addicts, loners, people who, when they're found brutally murdered, are considered less dead than a normal 9-to-5 office worker. It seems it just isn't serial killers who have a problem with dehumanizing people. What this means is avoiding a transient lifestyle or associating with people in fringe cultures is going to seriously reduce your odds of you being attacked. Backpacking solo across Europe may sound like a dream trip, but it's also an open-door invitation for any serial killer looking for someone who, if they went missing, would be difficult to track down and likely wouldn't be reported as missing for a long time anyway. Now, go watch America's Most Evil Serial Killer, John Wayne Gacy, or click this other video instead.